If you're an artist struggling to get into commercial galleries, you need to watch this video. I'm going to share with you how I went from being an artist that was ignored by galleries to having more requests to show with them than I could accommodate. Rather than me having to ask galleries, would they please consider showing my work? They were asking me, would I please consider showing with them? And that is a much better dynamic. Now, if you don't know me, I'm Tim Packer. I've made several $1,000,000 from the sale of my work. And in 2020, after some really serious health risks, I had an epiphany. I realized that just cranking out more paintings and making lots more money wasn't going to be enough for me. What I really wanted to do was share everything I had learned with other aspiring artists. So my new mission in life now is to help other artists achieve their dream life the same way that I've been able to achieve mine. So in 2020, I founded my online art academy at www.timpackerartacademy.com. Since then, I've helped thousands of artists on their journey, and I've had some amazing success stories, one of which I'm going to share with you a little later in this video. Okay, so you want to get your paintings into galleries. Now, I'm assuming that's because you believe that will result in more sales of your work. But I have a couple questions I have to ask you first before we can decide what it is you need to do to achieve that. So the first question is, are you selling now? And if so, where? Are you selling in art festivals? Are you selling online? Are you selling in like an art co-op or a studio tour or something like that? But the big question is, are you actually selling your work now? And does your work get the, oh my God, I love it reaction where you can't keep up with the demand? Or does your work pretty much just sit there and the odd person might be interested and you might have the odd sale? Because here's what I can tell you. The competition for sales is much fiercer in galleries than it is at art festivals or studio tours or anything else like that, because all of the artists have already been vetted. They've been accepted by the gallery because the gallery believes that they can sell their work. So the first thing I can tell you is that if you're not selling wherever you're showing your work now, you will just not sell your work in a commercial gallery. And actually, more importantly, no commercial gallery is going to take you on. So what do you have to do to get to the point where commercial galleries are going to want to carry your work and where they are going to approach you? Well, let me tell you my story, and that will hopefully make this all clear. And then we can talk about what it is you need to do to have the same thing happen to you. So in 2000, when I quit my job as a police officer and cashed in my pension to pursue my art career full time, I was a high realism portrait painter. I'd actually been elected to the Canadian Society of Painters in Watercolor, and I was a senior signature member of the Canadian Institute of Portrait Artists, and I thought I was going to make my living painting portraits. Except a funny thing happened. After painting countless portraits of other people's people the way they wanted me to paint them, I got sick and tired of painting portraits. So what was I going to do? Well, I'd always been drawn to the landscape and landscape painters in particular. So I decided that's what I was going to focus on. Now, I didn't have a lot of experience painting landscapes. Almost all of the time that I'd spent kind of perfecting my craft was around drawing and painting people. So moving to the landscape was very, very difficult. And I had some very lean years in there. Now, I approached a number of galleries to try to get them to carry my landscapes without any success. At this point, I was in two galleries, one because they had taken me on as a portrait painter, and another one that was a local gallery. I think the only reason he had taken me on was because I answered the question properly. He asked me if I could tell him what a piece of art was worth, and I told him it's worth what any given person is willing to spend on that day. And he said, wow, you're the first artist I've ever talked to who answered that question, right? So he agreed to take me on. Now, this time I was in the middle of process mode and I was all over the map in terms of stylistic approach and medium. And so there was very little consistency in my work. And this is actually what you have to do if you want to reach your ultimate voice. But the problem is there are not very many galleries who are going to want to carry you while you're at this stage. Galleries want to have an artist who has a clearly defined style that is also much sought after by the buying public. So I was in this process mode for about 3 or 4 years. Again, my work was all over the map until gradually my current voice started emerging. Now, at this point, I was doing festivals and I noticed that my sales had gone up. I was averaging two, four, $5,000 in sales in a weekend festival. The demand for my work was going up and the prices of my work was going up. So I thought at this point, this would be a good time for me to approach commercial galleries. So in the fall of 2019, I sent out a number of packages to galleries in the Southern Ontario region. So it included a CD with images of my work, printed images of my work, my bio, my artist statement. Now, this was pre social media and even pre internet, really. Well, it wasn't pre internet, but most artists did not have a website, and I didn't have a website at that time. So, anyways, I sent out all this material by regular snail mail, and crickets was the response. Not one single gallery got back to me. So, fast forward 4 months after I'd sent out all these packages, I participated in the Toronto Indoor Art Expo. Now, this was the biggest show I'd ever done. It was actually about a $5,000 entry fee by the time you paid for your booth and the lighting and everything that was required to go along with it. And the only reason I did the show is that one local gallery owner who I'd answered the right question to, he had seen my new work, which is reminiscent of what I do now. And he said to me, you have to get this work out in front of a lot of the public. And he said, this show is really good. And I know it's expensive, but I really encourage you to do it. So I kind of bit the bullet, paid the big entry fee, and thank God I did. The show opened on a Thursday at 11 o'clock in the morning. By noon, I'd made back my booth fee. I was back and forth to my van over the course of those 4 days, getting more paintings as pieces sold. And I ended up doing $28,000 in sales over the course of the weekend. But that's not the best part. The best part is over the course of that weekend, I was approached by more than 10 gallery owners who all asked me if I would consider showing with them. So I left that show with about a dozen business cards of gallery owners, and I got to pick which gallery I wanted to show with. And I ended up choosing four of them, two of whom I'm still with today, almost 20 years later. Now, I've backed off on the number of galleries that I'm showing with now because I do a lot of direct to client sales, and with all of the time focused on the Art Academy, I just don't really have time to create enough paintings to service numerous galleries. But at my height, I was with about a dozen galleries, and every single one of those galleries had approached me and asked me if I would be willing to show with them. And then I got to make the decision whether I did or didn't. And I probably have been approached by about 50 galleries in the last 10 years who want to show my work. Now, the latest thing that has generated the most requests is social media. I've been very active in social media probably for about 10 years now, and I have about 100,000 followers combined across Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. And I continually get approached by galleries on these various platforms, again, about asking if I will show with them. So, what are the keys here? If you want to show your work in a commercial gallery, now, this sounds rather obvious, but it really is the only solution that I know is guaranteed to get you into commercial galleries. And that is you have to already be selling a lot of work on your own, or you need to have a very large social media following, which also generates sales of your work. Because here's the thing. Galleries are in the business of selling art. They are not in the business of nurturing artists and bringing them along until they reach the point where the gallery can sell a lot of their work. They want artists coming in ready to hit the ground running who are going to sell work. They also really want artists who already have a big following that are going to bring more clients into the gallery. So if you're not selling work right now, wherever you are, no gallery is going to want to pick you up. And even if you were to get into a gallery, it's not very likely you're going to generate sales. So you need to get to the point first where your work is getting that, oh my God, I love it, I have to have it reaction. And people are getting out their wallets, eager to buy your work. And that's what I teach in my art academy, is how to actually develop the skills, master the concepts, push your creativity, follow influences to get to the point where you are creating great work with a unique voice. And that's what Emily Valentine, one of my students, has done. So now it's time for a word from our sponsor for this video, which is me and the Tim Packer Art Academy. So I'll let Emily tell her story, and I'll also show you how you can get access to the same training that Emily credits for her success.
So I sold out the artist project, which was like a 4-day event, and it was just so overwhelmingly positive. I just couldn't believe it. And then I had a few shows since then, and I had people come driving from Toronto to purchase my work, which was crazy because they were just local shows, and I just sell out within like the first 2 hours of the show starting. And I'd just be like, how is this happening?
Can you imagine going from hobby painter to successful artist in less than 2 years, selling out at multiple art festivals, and learning how to do this from the comfort of your own home at your own pace and with a successful artist who's made millions from the sale of his own work, me, and all for less than the cost of one blank canvas? Well, that's exactly what Emily Valentine has done. Emily was studying to become a veterinarian, but what she really dreamed of was pursuing a career as an artist. In the fall of 2020, she enrolled in my online art academy, and now she's living her dream life, going into her studio every day, following her passion, and barely keeping up with the demand for her paintings. Now, how was she able to do that? By taking my online courses, by working very hard and following my teaching advice. Now, here's the best part. Anyone with a passion for art, a solid work ethic, and a willingness to learn can do it too. So if you are struggling to make a living from your art and you desperately want to change that, take that first step towards your dream life as an artist. I know it sounds crazy, but you too could experience the same kind of success as Emily. Look, becoming a successful artist is not about being magically anointed with some special gift. It's about learning the right skills and concepts and then putting them into practice. And I can help you do that. So if you dream of a life where you get to follow your passion and make a good living from doing that, click on the Learn More button.
I just love hearing stories like that. The best part is Emily's not the only one like that. I have about 4 or 5 students in my academy who are experiencing the same sort of success, and many others that are kind of on that journey. So if you're interested, you can click on the link in the description. And remember, all my courses come with a 30-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee. Okay, now I'm going to tell you about a few other things that you can do to increase your chances of getting into galleries. So the first thing is you can start behaving like a professional artist and put together a professional looking bio. And how do we do that? Well, you need to be entering juried shows, and you need to be applying to juried organizations for membership. Because if you can have that kind of thing on your resume, that at least shows the gallery that you are serious about your art as a profession. Now, I don't do juried shows anymore because I don't really need my bio to kind of help sell my work. But at the beginning, that was very, very important. And so my bio reads like this. You know, I'm an elected member of the Canadian Society of Painters and Watercolor and a former president, having served on the board for 10 years. I was elected as a senior signature member to the Canadian Institute of Portrait Artists. I've had my work exhibited in many international juried shows, winning many awards, and my work represented Canada in the watercolor biennial in Mexico in 2002. So that's the kind of thing that a gallery would look at and just go, oh, wow, this guy's fairly serious. And remember, they're in the business to make money. It's not only enough that you can create art they could sell. The question is, will you create enough art? Are you going to be a pro about this? Because we all know that artists have a reputation of being kind of flaky. So it's like if you promise to do a show, but then call the gallery a month before and say, well, I don't have enough work, That's not good. That's not going to make them want to carry you. And they're afraid of that happening every time they bring on a new artist. So if you can show them that you're serious about your art by the accomplishments that you've made, then that's one thing. Now, another thing that you can do is actually go to the gallery. If there's a gallery that you're interested in perhaps approaching, go to shows that they have. But this is very, very important. Do not go to a gallery show and in the middle of another artist's show, approach the gallery owner or staff about them showing your work, right? And I see artists do this all the time, and it is bad, bad, bad. When there is an opening at a gallery, the number one focus of the gallery owner and that artist is for them to meet clients and for them to sell that artist's work. That is not a time for them to be bothered and distracted by an artist who wants to bend the gallery owner's ear about why they should show their work. You just want to go to the gallery to enjoy the show and potentially meet the gallery owner, whatever, but you do not approach the gallery owner about showing your work at this point. And I would say you could even go to a couple shows at the gallery. And once you've done that, perhaps, the person recognizes your face, you've had a conversation or whatever. Okay, then maybe you want to approach the gallery about looking at your work. But you do it like on a Tuesday in the morning when they are not busy, when they do not have a show going on and they don't have clients. And you also do not approach the gallery owner if there's anyone else in the gallery, because that person is a potential sale and you talking to him is going to distract him and take time away from him that he wants to be spending with people who are potentially going to buy work. So you go in, you can say hello to the gallery owner, and at that point, if an opportunity provides itself, you could just let him know that you are also an artist. And then you just kind of leave it. Now, sometimes the gallery owner will say, oh, well, what type of work do you do? And if they open that up, well, then you could show them. Ideally, you're going to have a website, you're going to have images of your work on your camera, but you let them open the dialogue about looking at your work. You don't go in there and say, hey, can I show you my work? And if they don't actually ask you about it, then you can ask them, does the gallery have a formal process of looking at new artists' works? And usually they will. And typically on their website, you can find that. Or they may just give you the details of, here, send me images to this email address or whatever. But at least now you've actually gotten to meet the gallery owner. They put a face with the work, and whatever the gallery owner asks you to do, you submit your work, and then that's it. You don't keep pestering them. I remember on one of my live Q&A calls, there was an artist that was saying that, well, she really, really wants to get into this local gallery. And so, she submitted her work and they didn't get back to her. So like, couple of weeks later, she went in and asked them, oh, will you please show my work? And they said, no, your work doesn't really fit our gallery right now. And we're very polite. But then she kept coming back every month, asking them again to show her work, thinking, she heard somewhere that don't take no for an answer is a good way to kind of live your life. And in some things it is, but not in this, because gallery owners want artists who are low maintenance, who they're not going to have to hold their hand and who are not going to always be bugging them. And so you don't want to be the artist that's in there every month bothering the gallery, taking time away from them doing what they need to be doing, which is showing and selling work, pestering them to show your work. Because even if you get to the point where they would want to show the work that you're doing, they won't show your work because they'll just think, wow, if this person was just so high maintenance when we weren't even involved with her, what's she going to be like when we're actually showing her work? So again, you approach the gallery. If they don't respond to you, then that just means you're not a good fit. And I would not come back to them again until or unless there has been a marked change or improvement in your work. And I'm not talking about 2 weeks from now or a month from now. I would say perhaps a year later, but only if your work has changed. If your work is still the same, there's no point coming back to that gallery and asking them again and again and again every year to show your work. And if no galleries want to show your work, guess what? It means because your work is really not sellable, at least for the galleries. So what you need to do is, again, master the skills, master the concepts, spend time in process mode, pushing your creativity until you get to the point where you're creating great work with a unique voice. And how we define great work in the world of commercial galleries and commercial sales is is to consistently create work where a significant amount of the public, when they see it, they have the reaction of going, "Oh my God, I love that. I have to have it." And they get out their credit cards. It needs to stop people in their tracks and take their breath away. Now, there's been a lot of nonsense in the art world since the advent of postmodernism. And so the big question is, well, what type of work does that? So I really need to get into the idea of how the art world works and the different villages in the art world to explain how and what you need to do. So you need to realize there's no one, oh, my finger just disappeared. There is no one unified art world. You have to think of the art world more like a bunch of different little isolated art villages. And one of those villages is the village of postmodernism. And this is the type of work that gets shown in a lot of publicly funded galleries. It's the work that gets shown in museums. It's the type of work that is really pushed in a lot of universities and colleges in their art programs. And it basically is the type of work that also gets written about a lot. So that's things like the meat dress, the piss Christ, as it's known, which is an image of Jesus suspended in a vat of the artist's own urine. It's 3 blank canvases. It's all of the conceptual work where there's really no skill involved, but it's all about the artist's concept or what he thought. Now, in this world, they look at things that have been traditionally valued in the art world since the Enlightenment, like skill, like expertise, like mastery of techniques, like craft, as not really real things and not things that should be really shown in art. And they prefer art where none of these things are evident and where it is critical of society. Then we get into the world of sales. And this is where it's just what the general public likes. Well, despite the public institutions pushing this postmodernist agenda for over 50 years, survey after survey shows that the majority of the public, and in fact, the majority of the art buying public who are going to buy art to show in their homes or in their offices, they value all of those traditional artistic skills. So the thing that you need to do if you want to experience a lot of sales is you need to master all of those skills. You need to master all of the concepts, and your work needs to demonstrate it. And what type of work sells is work that exhibits a mastery of skills, it exhibits a mastery of conceptual knowledge, and it does so with the unique voice of the artist. And that's how we get that work that creates the, "Oh my God, I love it, I have to have it" reaction. Now, you could push paint around forever in your studio aimlessly and not get much better. The whole idea of the 10,000 hours to mastery is 10,000 hours that are directed specifically at improving your craft. And there is a clear path to go from wherever you are now on that scale to actually mastering all of the skills, mastering the concepts, spending time in process to develop your own unique voice. And that's what I teach. So listen, if you're still watching at this point, obviously you really, really want to be successful as an artist. And hopefully what I'm saying is resonating with you. So I really, really encourage you to click on the link in the description. You can just learn more about my Unstoppable Artist program. That's over $1,000 worth of courses for just $199 and comes with a 30-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee. And you'll also see about some of the other success stories of people who have taken my program. But to recap, how do you get into galleries? You need to already be successful. You need to already be selling your work, whether it's online, whether it's in art festivals, whether it's in studio tours, because galleries want artists who are already selling and or you can create a large social media following. And that's a whole other video that I'll produce at some point. And you can actually create a professional resume. And that's by getting into juried shows, winning awards, being accepted into juried organizations. And again, that only comes when your work gets to a certain point. But the number one most important thing you can do to get into galleries is to create better work, to create work that gets that, oh my God, I love it reaction. So I hope you found this helpful, and I hope I'll see you in the Tim Packer Art Academy.